Super Smash Bros. Melee is literally at its peak right now. I have lived through basically every Melee era, and I've been watching and I've been in the community since 2005 or 2006, which was the very beginning of Melee, right? You had the MLG in 2007, the era of the Five Gods, you had the Hungrybox Armada rivalry, you've had Mango Hungrybox, you've had so many eras of Melee, and I think right now in 2022, it is the most interesting time to be a fan of Melee. Let me explain. But before I do, of course, don't forget to subscribe, turn on notifications, ring that bell for more videos. I know I don't normally do Melee on my channel, but I feel like it deserves it because it has been absolutely fascinating to watch recently. So the MPGR just came out, and I know there's been some controversy with specifically like Jmook and Hungrybox 3 and 4. I don't really care about any of that. This has been a very interesting time for Melee because we have Zayn at number 1. It's the first time he's been officially number 1 since ever, right? Like obviously he's been probably number 1 since like the, you know, a couple months into quarantine. He won Genesis right before lockdown. Then you have of course IBDW, who's been making a crazy ascension, Jmook, who's like the key to Melee being so fascinating right now. Then you have of course like Hungrybox, Leffen, Amsa, Plup. These are just mainstays at this point. Then you have Amsa, who's been doing absolutely fantastically. You know, his double down run getting second was crazy. You have Plup, who hasn't been going to as much, so that's why he's down here. You have Lod and Nun, Kadoran, who's been kind of just like a really up and comer. Obviously people have known he's good for a while, but again, this is the first official ranking since before lockdown, so things are going to be shaken up. And then of course Mango at 11, and he just won SmashCon, right? So the number 11 just won SmashCon.
You're back. These little motherfuckers.
And you have so many crazy players under this, like Fiction, Ginger, Moki, Joshman had a crazy run at Gommel. Of course, still perennial names like S2J. You have people like Polish who have been doing actually fantastic. Magi, who got second at CEO. Pipsqueak, who is the, I think, second ranked European on this list, who's the second ranked European in the MPGR Melee, if that's a thing. I don't know if it is. Of course, some other people that have been traveling less, like Axe and Lucky and Bobby Big Balls and stuff like that, that are still very, very highly ranked. But the reason I consider Melee the most interesting right now is it is the least predictable it has ever been. Obviously, some predictability is good for storylines, right? But in the era of the Five Gods, you're like, okay, well, it's going to be Hungrybox, Mango, Mewtwo King, PPMD, or Armada. They're going to win the events that they're going to, right? And then like someone will maybe do really well, like Kage at, you know, Revival of Melee two or three, one of them, whichever one he beat Mango at twice. You've always had some like up and downs, right? You had Plup win a Genesis, you had Zayn start taking over, you've had IBDW start doing really well recently. For the long time, the era of the Five Gods, while interesting, made it very predictable. There would be so many tournaments that I would like look at a bracket and be like, cool, this is exactly how top 8's going to turn out, because it is almost a foregone conclusion, because there were such strict stratifications in skill, because there was like, okay, if Hungrybox plays anyone that isn't Armada or Mango, he's going to win. Even when like some people would take sets off, like it was still like the large majority of the time Hungrybox would win, and then Mango would always beat Wizrobe, but Wizrobe would always beat people like S2J or people below him. Armada, if he was going, would always get top 2, same with Hungrybox for a while. They were just like constant, like these people are going to win 100% of the time, which I feel like is one of the things I like about Ultimate, is even though we have Leo clearly being the best player and winning the majority of our events, you know, there are still plenty of people that can take sets off of him, like Light, like myself, and Gluto, and Spargo, and Tweak. There's plenty of people to contest the number 1 spot, and for a long time in Melee, the top echelon only ever lost to the other super top echelon, and now it is so different. Obviously, Jmook had a bunch of up-and-comings that he was always going to be good, he just didn't really travel and didn't really get a lot of exposure, but he's been grinding and getting really good. But premiering at number 3 on a ranking from being unranked is insane. His run at Genesis was crazy. His play at Gommel was crazy. His play at Wave Dash is crazy. He double reverse 3-0'd Zayn. Oh, it was Gommel. Okay. You have Amsa taking sets from all these top people he's taken sets from. Hungrybox, he could probably beat Jmook. I think he could beat IBDW. He beat Zayn at Double Down. Plup, obviously, when he goes to things, can beat basically anyone. Plup beat Zayn at Summit. He's beat IBDW. He, I think, could beat or has beat Jmook. I don't know if they've played. Plup beat Hungrybox at Summit, even though Hungrybox also beat Plup. Lod is a super X Factor who somehow beat Leffen, even though Leffen doesn't lose to Peaches ever. Like, this is such an insane time to be a Melee fan. Like, when I watch Melee, I legitimately do not know what is going to happen. Even before the lockdown era, right? It was still Zayn, Hbox, right? Like, those were the top 2. Like, Hungrybox would beat most people, and then Zayn started to kind of beat Hungrybox more frequently. At the same time, Hungrybox just beat Zayn for the first time in like 2 years at SmashCon, which was crazy. This was the time of the Five Gods, right? When you had Armada, he's gonna win everything, and if he doesn't, it's Hungrybox. If he doesn't, it's Mango. If he doesn't, it's Mewtwo King, Leffen, right? Like, Leffen was the big shakeup in like 2016, 2015. The difference in skill between At the time, these 4, let's add Leffen to the list, these 5 and literally everyone else was massive. Like, I know they have like 9.0, 9.2 doesn't seem that big of a deal. That's because there's no point in ranking people super low just because they're not these players. These people almost never upset the people up here. Hungrybox would sometimes lose to random Fox mains. Mango would randomly lose maybe like a set and then get second at the event anyway. Mewtwo King, I don't even remember how he played here because Mewtwo King is just kind of out of my mind as a competitor since he hasn't been so long. And then like Leffen, of course, was being the God Slayer at this time. Plup was also being the God Slayer when he would randomly beat Armada like a couple times. Every bracket, if you had Armada, Hungrybox, Mango, Mewtwo King, Leffen, you're like, okay, 2 of those 3 are going to be top 3, and then maybe there's one other one, and they're going to get trounced by Hungrybox or Armada at some point. It just was so stratified. Like, I remember when I would travel for Smash 4 and I would be like at a DreamHack and there were both events. I'm like, okay, cool. I could tell you exactly how this Melee tournament's going to pan out at least once top 8 starts. And don't get me wrong, I liked Hungrybox versus Armada. That was super fun to watch. I love EVO 2016. I loved UGC. I was literally part of that pop-off. Whoops, wrong one. Not UGC. The fuck was it called? GTX. There we go. Sorry, GTX. Me and Hungrybox were closer here, right? But like, I'm literally part of this pop-off. Like, fucking crazy comeback, stupid play. Like, I love watching these 2 play. Don't, like, again, this is not an issue with these players. You can actually see me in the background. I'm like right over here. So that's Miracle, that's Crunch, that's me. Like, I'm here. Like, I've really enjoyed watching Melee, but for a long time, I haven't liked watching Melee. Melee got very boring in like 2017, 2018. Of course, I always had my favorites, right? I'm always going to root for like Plup and Axe and now IBDW, and I like watching Mango play. But I feel like it has been so predictable in so many of these situations. But now I don't know what's going to happen. And this is really weird because it's off the back of one of the most sure times in Melee where like Zane's going to win. Zane is going to win. Zane or Mango is going to win for like 2 years. Cody would sometimes do well, IBDW, but he would like always lose to Zane. And then he suddenly started beating Zane, so it became a lot more interesting. And then of course you had Jmook start going to events who's fucking incredible. And Jmook can just beat anybody. Like, Jmook can literally beat anybody. He hasn't beat Hungrybox yet as far as I'm aware, but it's always very close. Melee is not my cup of tea at this point. Like, I don't watch it all the time, but that does not mean that it isn't the most interesting that it has probably ever been. If I'm not a Melee analyst, I haven't been paying that much attention, but it's just I wanted to show Melee some appreciation because I haven't in a long time. I know I used to play it. Obviously, it was the game that I started with. I was Melee'd on me ranked like 4 years in a row, peaking at number 68, which I was very sad I wasn't 69. I have liked Melee a lot, but for a while I just stopped caring. I know that a lot of Smash 4 people stopped caring, and a lot of just people in general. But I mean, I think right now, it's the best time that it has ever been to be a Melee fan because there is so much uncertainty. The top cut's gonna generally be the top cut. You may have 1 or 2 new members in it, but I find it very, very exciting to just watch something that actually doesn't have a foregone conclusion. When Hungrybox versus Mango was playing at SmashCon Grand Finals, I didn't know who was going to win. Because like, sure, I thought before Winter Semis that Hungrybox would win, and then Mango beat him in Winter Semis and then played really well in Grand Finals. But Mango, you know, hasn't been doing that well recently, so it was a super like crazy turn of events, right? Like maybe Axe could have done well. Maybe Axe could have beat Mango. I mean, I know he 4-stocked him game 4. In my opinion, the stories are kind of carried by Jmook, IBDW. Honestly, it's like most of the top 10, right? Like Laud's runs have been crazy. None is also very interesting to me, but hasn't been as interesting. But again, like all these players are capable of making huge upsets, right? Like Joshman did beat IBDW at Gommel. Mango being down here, which is crazy. Mango, but like Kodoran has beat Mango and Kodoran has beat Hungrybox for the first time ever. So there's like so much shakeup that can literally happen right now. And that doesn't make sense for a game that has been as established as it is with such a dominant top echelon of players for as long as it has, even ignoring the era of the 5 gods. Leffen won a major this year over Zane. That's crazy, right? It's absolutely insane. There's been so much good stuff this year, and I just wanted to make like a rambly-esque video about Melee because I think it deserves it. I hope you all enjoyed. If you want more detailed stuff about that or want me to ramble about other things, let me know down in the comments. I would appreciate it. And I'll see you all next time. Pikachu busted.